And in the morning, Tom set off for Mrs. Fitzpatrick to seek help. Not a moment too soon, for who should arrive but his old benefactor, Squire Allworthy.
This man is my great-grandfather, the legendary actor and theatre director, George Devine.
What an unexpected pleasure.
Good morning, Mrs. Miller.
His work as artistic director of the Royal Court Theatre in the 1950s and 60s revolutionised British theatre forever, a legacy for which he is fondly remembered by my family. It is after him that I am named, and I have followed in his footsteps as a fellow director. His role in the film is said to be the closest to his own character, a man of warmth and kindness. But my great-grandfather left behind an unusual secret, one that throws his legacy into question, and until now has remained hidden. Not too long ago, a battered old suitcase was discovered at the bottom of a dusty cupboard. It had not seen the light of day for over 60 years. Left behind and forgotten by Devine several years before he died. Within were objects from another time. Chess pieces he used to block plays. Medals from the war. Lenses for his glasses. Pieces of him in a way. But also within was something no one expected to find. Something utterly out of place. A piece of someone else.
Yosegaki Hinomaru are the Japanese flags which are given to young soldiers who are about to leave for the theater of war, or generally overseas, signed by all sorts of people that are connected with them, relatives, friends, and so on. Yosegaki basically means that everybody adds a line, just like when we write a going away card to someone or a birthday card we all sign, except they radiate out of the sun like rays of the sun. To me, the flag is meaningless, but each one is an object that is connected with a human who died. Over the years, there would be stories in the newspaper about generally American soldiers feeling that they should give these back and trying to find relatives of the soldiers who received them.
But in order to expand our effort, there's so many countless flags around the
This
world.
is Rex and Kiko Zeke, a couple who run the Obon Society, a US-based charity who work to return Yosegaki Hinomaru's.
Japanese are very spiritual. These items that the Americans regard as a good luck flag or a souvenir flag or a battlefield souvenir, in the minds of the Japanese, possess the spirit of that person. Their life may be ended on the battlefield, but their spirit is alive in this item. And so when it comes back to them, it is a very spiritual moment. They often talk to it. They will take it into the house and unfurl it in front of portraits of their ancestors and show the ancestors their son or brother has come home. Or take it to the cemetery and unfurl it in the cemetery in front of the gravestones of the ancestors, because everything is alive. And this object, coming back from a Western perspective, is perceived entirely different on the other side. And so we're tapping into this emotional world that you'd have to probably bring back the human remains of somebody lost on this side to reach into that equivalent stratum of sensitivity.
Many thousands of these flags were taken home as souvenirs by Allied troops during the Second World War, including, it would appear, by my own great-grandfather, who had spent 3 years in the Royal Artillery fighting against Japan in what is now Myanmar and India. How exactly this flag had fallen into Devine's hands was unclear, and the idea of him looting the body of a soldier he may have killed did not align with my perception of him as a man of humanity and compassion. The man who carried his flag into battle likely never saw home again. I hold in my hands the last piece of someone's brother, father, uncle, husband, and these people could well be alive today. It seems to me that the right thing to do is to personally return this flag to the relatives of the soldier it belonged to. Though our ancestors had met as enemies, perhaps in the spirit of peace and reconciliation, we could meet as friends. A monumental task, but by no means impossible, with a little help here and there.
Hello, you're right.
How you doing?
So from what I've read about these flags, so they always had the sun in the middle of the Hinomaru, which means the sun, the circle of the sun, which is like the Japanese flag. And then they would have written like the title of the flag here. So that says Bunchokyu, which means military luck, everlasting. And then his name is this one here.
What does that say?
So it says Tatsumi Yoji-kun. I think it's Yoji, but there's other ways you could read it. That's the difficult thing about Japanese writing is the parents would choose a name and then they would match a syllable which has a meaning, and they would just force it on the sound of the name.
Okay, so there's multiple ways to say it.
Multiple ways of saying it.
Well,
So
I think
that's
as long as
something-
it's written the same,
Yeah.
I suppose it helps.
And that's Tatsumi would be the surname. So these are all names. So rather than like messages or comments, these are all names.
Can you see any other Tatsumis on here?
Yeah, this is a Tatsumi.
Oh yeah.
That's Tatsumi Yoshihisa or Tomihisa. But that's definitely a man's name. Well, it would be one of his family, I guess. This is another Tatsumi. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's the fifth
That's four,
Tatsumi,
five,
isn't it?
yeah.
Out of the top of my head, I think there's like 5 names which get repeated. So in my head, I think their families, maybe from that region, they all lived. They all knew each other.
Yeah, that suggests a sort of maybe he came from a town rather than a city, perhaps. And is Tatsumi quite a common surname? Is that like a Smith, or is it more like is it a bit more rare? Would you say
Smith.
in your
I
experience?
think I've never heard the name actually.
No.
So I think it's quite a rare name, but it might be specific to a certain region of Japan. And kun is a name you'd put, it's like an ending of a name. So you know how in English we have like Mr. and Mrs. Well, in Japan it's usually sama. You put the name and there's sama at the end. But if it's a really young person, if it's a boy, you put kun. So that shows that this person is very, very young.
Okay, so he's not old at all.
No. So they would have treated him as so he would have been seen as a younger person in his family, like, or in the community.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. The notion that the person Devine may have killed could have just barely been a young man did little to brighten my perception of my great-grandfather. This is footage of Devine's regiment. He would have certainly known these men. To understand the reasons why Devine may have taken the flag, I needed to take a closer look at his time in the army.
My view is that the flags were, yes, very sentimental, but they also had a very significant cultural and religious dimension as well.
I never knew my great-granddad. He died in the 60s. But I'm kind of getting an idea of his character through reading his letters and talking to my grandmother, etc. He doesn't seem like the kind of person to go and search a dead body.
No, well, I find that very hard to believe that he took that off a dead body. That's flag. But he got it somehow. But maybe somebody else took it and said, I got this. Do you want it? Because I cannot. I mean, I know he was called Gunner George Devine. So presumably he had a gun and presumably he shot people with it.
Yeah, I can kind of get a sense of this actually from a lot of the letters I've been reading, the war letters to Sophie, his wife.
The Japanese have no supplies, bad communications, and little equipment or arms. As the troops say, they've had it. The few prisoners I have seen have not been very becoming, but they were mostly starved or ill. They have had a very sticky time since they've been withdrawing, many being left behind without orders or food. Poor devils. I am not a man for soldiering, although I do tolerably well at it in a very minor role, but there is nothing about it that pleases me and much that offends. It has given me many a heartache. It is a corrupter of morals in the widest sense and a gross waste of man's time and effort. It is an outlet for some predatory brains, which is an undoubted indication of the type produced by the arts of war.
Burma was a really, really horrible, scary, frightening place to be. All I can say is he went to India with black hair and he came back for how long? 5 years later with white hair.
So obviously he never mentioned the flag to either of you. And you've never Because no one seems to have heard of it. Obviously, he wasn't proud of this thing.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, why would he have left it here even, you know? If it's still in our house and he moved out in what,
About 1960, yes.
So he moved out and left the
he
flag
moved
here,
out
basically,
and
didn't
we
he?
stayed on in the house.
Yeah.
All of these flags were taken off dead bodies or prisoners. In battle, after the battle had been fought, the soldiers would search the bodies for anything that could be useful to us. It was a routine procedure to make sure that nothing was left on the battlefield that could be useful to the British. So they were all searched as a matter of routine.
It was a huge relief to discover that Devine was under orders to search the bodies of the dead. But I wasn't any closer to returning the flag. All I had to go on was the name of one soldier in an army of millions. If Devine had taken the flag himself, perhaps I could follow his journey and work out which unit Tatsumi belonged to. To do this, I came to the National Archives in West London, where countless records are preserved, stretching back over 1,000 years. It's here that Devine's regimental war diaries are kept, detailed accounts of their activities as they occurred day to day. Devine himself had personally written and signed each entry. I figured it was likely Devine and Tatsumi had come into close contact. So knowing which Japanese units Devine came up against could be the key to narrowing down Tatsumi's regiment. It says the regiment received orders to move to Chittagong. A raiding party, strength approximately 30, rushed to position with magnetic grenades. And another attack here. Lieutenant VJ Derrick, Royal Artillery, was killed at his OP. It took weeks to create a detailed timeline of his course through India and Burma. Once this was done, I sent it to various historians to see if they could find Tatsumi's unit. A professor from Tokyo was astoundingly able to track down the exact regiment Tatsumi had served in. The 67th Infantry Regiment. My work had paid off, and we were now one step closer to finding the family. But all the information about Tatsumi's regiment is stored somewhere in Japan. Without physically being there or knowing the language, the crucial records I needed were inaccessible to me. Luckily, I was reminded of Sean, a fellow filmmaker I had crossed paths with, who was now living in Tokyo. He agreed to visit archives and museums across the city to see if he could find out more about Tatsumi and the 67th Regiment. Sean, our man in Japan, he went to this thing called the Kaiko Bunko Library, which is like a museum run by military experts. And basically he found a book which lists casualties in different regiments, including the 67th Regiment. So he found out some really, really, really juicy information about Tatsumi. It has his exact place of death and date of death.
Well, did they tell you where they sign up from, or?
Yeah, that's the thing, man. That's the thing. We have an address.
Nice. What? You got an address?
We have a former address. Yeah, the address was given in 1943.
Wow. Yes, that's sick.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
That's awesome news. Yeah.
This was a huge breakthrough. We now knew exactly where Tatsumi had come from. A small town called Oyodo in Nara in central Japan. We were given an insight into what the town was like through videos on its YouTube channel. A quiet, peaceful community nestled between the hills and the river of the same name. There were also videos of life in the town in the 1930s. The soldier would have been a teenage boy when these images were shot. A few days later, Sean discovered a phone directory that listed a Mr. Tatsumi living in the same house that the soldier had come from. The book was several years out of date, but it was still an incredibly encouraging development. Very suddenly, it seemed we were on the brink of finally meeting the relatives of this soldier. Dear resident, I apologise for the unsolicited letter. I'm writing to you from the UK about a matter that may be of a personal nature. I'm in possession of a Yosugaki Hinomaru that is dedicated to a Mr. Tatsumi. I'm now trying to return this flag to his descendants. We know that in 1943, Mr. Tatsumi was living at the address you now occupy. Do you happen to be related to him, or know anything about the Tatsumi family? If he was a member of your family, and you'd like to accept the flag, I would be honoured to return it to you personally, but this is at your discretion. If you'd rather not meet with me in person, I can arrange to leave it at a local shrine or the town hall for you to collect. Many thanks, George Pritchard. We didn't know for sure that the Tatsumi family still lived at this address, so I wrote multiple letters to the people of Oyodo looking for leads. 8 were addressed to the head priests of local shrines and temples, 1 to the town hall, and 1 to the owners of a business called Tatsumi & Co.
If they say, I'm sorry, I don't want to accept it, say thank you very much, I fully understand, whatever your reasons, and bow to them and leave. That's what you should do. These people might not want to even talk to you. Well, you know, you could end up making a film like Michael Moore, trying to meet somebody you can't meet.
Our underlying mission is peace and reconciliation, and it is done through these items. And so these items going back, it is very important to us that there be no upset and no hardship and no hard feelings. And if the family in Japan says, just mail it to us, or send it to these people and they'll deliver it to us, or send it to this shrine and they will receive it there, whatever their response is, we're respectful of that.
Now all we could do was wait and hope for a lead. Meanwhile, I began to use the new information to piece together the truth about how the flag had ended up in Devine's hands. In June 1944, Tatsumi's regiment was in retreat after suffering heavy casualties and a devastating defeat at Imphal, the bloodiest battle of the entire campaign. As a final stand, they took up defensive positions in the hills surrounding the town of Safamina in a desperate attempt to stop the British advance. For the next 7 days, in the lashing rain, Tatsumi's regiment fended off wave after wave of attacks from the men of the 5th Indian Division and withstood intense bombardments from shells and aeroplanes. But they were surrounded and exhausted. On the 21st of June, the 5th Division launched a final attack that broke their defence, and Tatsumi lost his life. We know from my research that Devine was stationed over 60 kilometres north in the village of Viswema during this attack. This confirmed what I had begun to suspect, that Devine played no part in his death. Even the artillery from his guns were focused on an entirely different area. Devine would have travelled down the road that runs past the hills where Tatsumi was killed a few days later. Perhaps it was here that he acquired the flag from a soldier of the 5th Division, sold to him, bartered for, or given. We'll never know exactly how he got it, but it's almost certain he didn't take it himself. Even if he had, I could hardly have blamed him. It was a different time and he wouldn't have known its significance. It was a relief to me all the same. Learning about Tatsumi's fate has strengthened my resolve to return the flag to his family. And after several months of waiting for a response to my letters, I finally received an email from the Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare, Japan's largest government agency, and it wasn't good news.
The ministry told us that the family don't want to appear in the documentary and they don't want to meet with me. They just want us to send them the flag, or not even send the family the flag directly, send the flag to the ministry's offices.
Oh, well, so there's no doubt in your mind that this is the relative.
Yeah, it's been confirmed by my research and by the ministry's research and by
that this is
the
definitely
Oban Society's research. Yeah.
They want the flag back, and they don't want to know about it, and they don't want to be filmed or anything like that. That's not good, is it?
It's not great.
Wow,
Maybe.
that's really, I'm so sorry to hear that.
It's all right. Don't worry, it happens.
Yeah.
I was always like, oh yeah, there's the possibility they don't want to meet. And I thought I was prepared for it, but I guess I wasn't at all. It was kind of just shocked me. You know, I can just send them the flag like they've asked. I don't think it's ethical, or, you know, it's not going to be, I don't feel comfortable hanging on to it and trying to sort of bargain with the ministry or with the family.
Oh, no.
Sending them any letters.
You're not going to win. You're not going to win.
This certainly wasn't the ending I'd expected or hoped for. On one hand, it was a great relief to finally be able to send it back. It was hard to shake the sense of disappointment at the fact I'd never meet the people on the other side. But this endeavour was never about me. It was always about the flag and the Tatsumi family. I could sympathise completely with their decision. The flag's arrival at their home was likely going to be a very emotional affair, one best experienced in private. I was glad to have played my part in getting it back to them, to have cleared my great-grandfather's name, and to have done right by the soldier who carried the flag.
1350?
Cool.
What's inside there?
It's a Japanese World War II flag.
Just a flag, yeah?
Yeah. And so the flag was on its way home after almost 80 years. Though I'd never get the full sense of closure I had aimed for, at least a family would now have theirs, and that's what's most important. Dear George Pritchard, my name is Yoshiaki Tatsumi. You sent me a flag that belonged to my uncle, Yoshitsugu Tatsumi. Although I felt that I needed to express my gratitude as quickly as possible, it has taken a while for me to do so. It is overdue, but thank you very much. Yoshitsugu Tatsumi was my father's older brother. My father and his other siblings are no longer with us. People who knew my uncle have also passed away. However, the flag that was miraculously returned to us carried the names of my grandfather and their neighbours. The flag has breathed new life into the memory of my uncle and helped me to remember the past. I sincerely appreciate all your efforts in this matter. Finally, I would like to meet you. Sincerely yours, Yoshiaki Tatsumi.
Very nice.
まあ実際奇跡としか思えなかったですね。わずか24年しか生きてなかったおじの、まあ生きてたっていうその唯一の証ですよね。はい。
Dear George, thank you for coming all the way to Oyodo. We hope you aren't too tired from your trip. We're all very happy that we had the chance to meet you all. Just as there is a story behind your 2-year journey to find us, there is also a story on our side. I feel a strange bond between me and my uncle's flag. Part of the reason for this is I previously visited Tsubasaka Temple on March 6, 2018. At the time, I had no idea that the temple had a memorial dedicated to the soldiers of the 67th Regiment. Even with the news of the flag's return on TV and in the newspapers, it felt surreal and hard to believe that the flag would actually return to us. I was very happy when we received the flag, the only item we possessed that belonged to my late uncle. Seeing the flag in such good condition made me want to write a letter thanking you. On March 14, 2020, we all met at Tsubasaka Temple. I'm so grateful for all the work, time and enthusiasm you put towards returning the flag. I'm sure my uncle was watching over us, happy and grateful. Sometimes I think to myself he must have wanted nothing more than to come home to Japan. Your great-grandfather may have wanted to forget the war, but the fact that he held onto the flag has allowed us to cherish my uncle's memory in a way we couldn't before. War is a terrible thing. But this flag is a bridge between two people of different generations, and I will treasure this connection forever. I hope the flag will serve as a reminder of the tragedy of war and educate younger generations who have never known it.
おじいさんですね。おじいさん、これ米本慎太郎さん。これが大口の伝作さんですよ。亀谷の久和さん。
寄せ書きしてる人は結構実際にここで住んである人でお付き合いになった人も結構いるんで。
ものすごいリアルでね。いやすごいと思ってもどう言うていいのかなんかもう胸が詰まる思いです。
そういう、行く人に対しての思いっていうのはやっぱ思いますね。なんていうかな、帰ってきてほしいっていう願いが込められてると思うんですね。
帰った時のね気持ちとかもね考えたらねもうすごいいたたまれないですね。
George, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who was involved. I wish you all success and happiness. Yours, Yoshiaki Tatsumi.